Today is December 16th, 2024, and welcome to the 419th episode of the So Video Games podcast. Here in this show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of this show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello, thank you specifically for joining me today. Also, quick apology just off the top here for being a little bit late. I know I've kind of struggled to stay on my published schedule lately, but I had a good excuse this time. I was interpreting for the Logitech Adaptive Esports Tournament yesterday. We were hosting Rocket League. I've talked about it on the show before, but if you've never heard of it, you can look it up. Check it out on Twitch. I think they have the archive streams. But basically, it is an esports tournament for people who have physical disabilities. So there's 3 different categories. I'm a little bit hazy on what the categories are. I believe it's like one category needs no special equipment, but they do have some type of disability. One category is, I think, you're paraplegic, and I think the third quadriplegic. I think that's it. I'm not on the rules making committee. I don't manage the players. I just do the sign language for the show, and you can check it out. You can see me there doing some of the interpretation. So that took up most of my day on the day that I usually record the show, which is ironic because this week I was actually on time, except for that. So anyway, only a day late, not $1 short, and here we are recording a brand new show. So again, thanks for being here. As usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I talk about tidbits, news items, industry happenings, basically anything randomly game adjacent that's caught my eye in the last 7 days. But before I get to that, I feel a little awkward here because I haven't really talked about it. So this is your first initial notice, and it's also your final warning. I did a dirty trick there, and I apologize. I kind of lost track of time. But next week, on December 22nd, I will be recording the So Videogames Game of the Year wrap-up show. There will indeed be a special guest. We've got that all worked out, so you can look forward to that. No, it is not my wife. And before the show happens, I need your top 3 picks of 2024 and one disappointment, as we always do on this show. I like the good with the bad. I like the sweet with the sour. I like the sugar with the spice. So send in your top 3 of 2024. They can be like in 1, 2, 3 order. They can be 3, 2, 1 order. They can be in no order at all. But give me 3 games that you loved, and then give me one that you were disappointed by, one that you thought was going to be good, one that was a letdown, one you were regretful that you spent the money on, anything like that. A little bit of both. I like to have balance on the show. So send those in ASAP as soon as you hear this episode, because we are recording on the 22nd. Come hell or high water, and I certainly don't want either one of those things. But that is when we're recording, and if you send them in too late, you're going to miss your shot. If you do send them in, we will read off every single one that people send. We'll also give you a by name shout out on the show, and you will also receive our eternal thanks. So heads up on that. All right. I was planning to have this like more organized than I do, and I just don't, and there's nothing really to be done for it than just sally forth. So we're going to just roll with this. Quickly, I want to give a shout out to a game called Glaciered. I saw it on Iron Pineapple's YouTube video recently. He's one of the very, 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 very few YouTubers that I bother watching. I'm just not in the YouTube generation. I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube, but every once in a while I'll hear about a specific video, or maybe I'll click with someone who I think is kind of fun to watch. And my son is a big YouTuber, so if he's watching somebody that I like, I'll join him for that. And Iron Pineapple is one that we can both agree on. There's a lot of YouTubers we don't agree on. A lot of them I would rather like literally do anything else than listen to that shrieking in my ears. But there are a few that are good stuff. And Iron Pineapple is one. He recently did one of his dumpster diving videos where he displays random Souls-like videos that you've probably never heard of, which is always fun because I feel like I've generally heard about half of them. Just as being a video game critic, I come across a lot of game information. But he does surprise me. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know about, and this was one. Anyway, it's called Glaciered, Glaciered. There is a Steam page that's up. You can wishlist it. Game is not out yet, but there is a demo. And so Iron Pineapple is playing the demo. This is a really interesting one because it is a Souls-like, but they are striking out in a new direction. Not going to go like super deep down the rabbit hole here, or I guess the penguin hole. But basically, you're a penguin. You're like a futuristic, evolved penguin. and the game takes place underwater. You have like a dodge, and you can go vertical and, swim in 3D space as you would expect. And on the penguin's wing flippers, he's got little, feathers, I guess, or pinions or blades of some sort that he can swap out. So they kind of are like functioning like swords, but it's also part of his body. He does a save point by laying an egg, and if he dies, or I guess she or they or whoever, if they die, then the egg hatches and the previous penguin is just dead, and this is your descendant, and they carry on in your line, which is kind of cool. Kind of dig that idea. And so you just swim around and do Dark Souls stuff, but as a penguin in the water. Like the first boss was a big shark that did like lots of like dash and spin moves, and you're, swooping up and down. I mean, it just looked really cool, and I really appreciate that someone's doing something different. I like Souls-likes. I like medieval armor. I like, spiky weapons. But at a certain point, you just start to see the same thing over and over and over. And I'm really desperate for people who want to make Souls-like to do something that's not just a straight homage to Souls. And this looks like really, really different stuff. I'm not sure that I've ever played an underwater Souls-like before, so I'm quite eager for this one. Hopefully it'll come to console. Hopefully it'll turn out good. But that demo that I watched Iron Pineapple play looked wonderful. Very exciting and intriguing. So check that one out if you want. Just a heads up there. Also, in the past week, we watched the Game Awards. I did not watch it. We, as in, I don't know, humanity or whatever, the Keeleys, as they're called by some. I was not really super hyped up for it. Wasn't really too interested, but I did hear from many people that it was like the best one in ages. And I think that was mostly because of the trailers. Apparently there were a lot of really good trailers, and I meant to watch all the trailers before I recorded today. That just did not happen. So I apologize for that. I did watch one of the trailers, which I'll talk about in a second, but taking a quick look at the winners, I got some PR after the show. Their reps sent out a list of the winners, and I was a little bit surprised and confused because if this PR is correct, it seemed like the big winners this year were Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and Tekken 8. I mean, I'm looking down the list real quick. Game of the Year, Best Fighting Game, Best RPG, Best Multiplayer, Game Direction, Art Direction, and Player's Voice. And for every one of those, it's either Elden Ring or Tekken 8. And I haven't played Tekken 8. I'm sure it's fine and lovely. I have played Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree. Not going to get into whether a DLC counts as a brand new game. I think that's debatable. But I guess that seems like a domination of the awards by these two games. Was there more awards that the PR didn't tell me about? Was there something else noteworthy that won? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. But looking at that list, I'm like, gosh, I'm glad I didn't watch it, because that seems like kind of a sweep, and that would have been kind of boring since I don't really care too much about either one of those games. I guess I'm glad I didn't have a horse in this particular race. Anyway, I did end up watching one of the trailers. Only one. I'm sure you can guess which one it was. It was Elden Ring Night Rain, I believe it's called. And I heard lots of mixed things. Like, I heard at first excitement. And this is all like secondhand through social media channels, right? Or people DMing me or whatever. And they're like, oh, Elden Ring. And I'm like, cool. I like the original Elden Ring. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Finished it. Had a good time. God's honest truth, I didn't care for Erd Tree. Just didn't like it that much. I thought it was not my jam. Didn't finish it. Bounced. Don't really need more of that. But this seems to be pretty different. So at first it was like, oh, more Erd Tree. And then they're like, wait a minute, this is different. And I just like got drowned in this wave of like whinging from people who, I'm not calling anybody out here. I'm certainly not going to name anybody, but people were like really quick to jump on the, what is this? And what's going on? And who's this for? And this is different. And I don't like it. The reason being is like it looks like a pretty big departure for the Souls team. It looks like it's using Elden Ring assets and some other Dark Souls assets perhaps. And it's either a solo or a 3-person team. Apparently there's no 2-player teams. What the fuck is up with that? They forgot a number there, like an important number. But you either go solo or in 3-player teams. And the trailer strongly suggests 3 players. And it's kind of like looks like a Monster Hunter-ish, boss rush-ish sort of thing where you're running and jumping and you're flying around. You've got some kind of a eagle that you have that you pop out and you can fly, which looks sick as fuck. I'm like, okay, that looks pretty good. I want to fly around on an eagle. But basically just like you're in an arena, like fighting a big boss, very Monster Hunter vibes. And I love Monster Hunter, and I like most of Elden Ring and Souls in general and stuff. So I'm like, okay, this looks cool. I'm definitely up for this, but man, the pushback from people was just crazy. Like God, come on, you guys. Like, they've done Dark Souls. They invented Dark Souls. They've done it a million times. They did Elden Ring. You guys just voted for all the fucking awards for them to win it. Like, have some fucking faith in the team. Like, you guys are ready to tar and feather them for doing something slightly different. I mean, is the real Dark Souls actually keeping a fucking open mind? Kind of seems like it. So I was like really kind of put off by all the whinging, and I was like, whatever, I'm going to give it a try. It looks fun. I'm ready to do something slightly different. I bet the team is ready to work on something different. So kudos to that and for taking a risk. But I am slightly perturbed that you can't do 2-player, because me and my wife are the team. We're the jam. We went through all of Elden Ring together. We went through most of the Souls games that you are able to bring a friend in. I went through with my wife. We did co-op and basically all the From stuff, and that's how we like to play it. And it's like, what the fuck? I don't want to bring in a third. I want to just have a quiet night with my wife. Excuse me for how that sounded, but I mean, that's kind of how I feel, right? Like, I don't know if you can summon someone in, and if you do, you don't know who they are, and I certainly don't want to chat with randos, and you don't know if they're good, if they're going to troll you or whatever. Like, I want to have just me and the wife going at it like, you know, we're the team. We got each other's backs. We trust each other. Why is it only 1 or 3? That's insane. That's fucking insane. So, and before anybody writes me and says, oh, it's so hard to build a game for 2 people, man, fuck off. Like, they can do it. If anybody can do it, FromSoft can do it. I don't want to hear no sass about how they could do solo and they could do 3-way, but they couldn't do 2. Get out of here. There's no excuse for that. That's stupid. Okay, so enough about that. Moving on. It is the season of wrap-ups right now. And, you know, the Spotify wrap-up and the iTunes wrap-up, or, you know, whatever have you. And so everybody is getting in on this. And it's funny because I remember when the very first wrap-up came out, I'm like, man, that's awesome. I love it. And then, like, everybody does a wrap-up now. It's pretty wild. Like, I think my grocery store is sending me a wrap-up, and, like, Amazon's sending me a wrap-up, like, crazy stuff. Anyway, I got my PlayStation wrap-up, and I figured there were some interesting numbers here I would just read off really quickly. So in 2024, and this is PlayStation only, right? I'm not talking about Xbox or Switch. In PlayStation land in 2024, I played exactly 100 games. 88 of those were on PS5, 12 were on PS4. The first game I played this year was Fortnite, and that jibes. I think I was still playing with my son at that time. We've kind of fallen off it, but yeah, that makes sense. The total number of games I've played on PSN since joining PSN, and I guess that's back in the day because I haven't changed my account, although I have quit it a few times. I guess just cumulatively, 748 games. That seems a little low to me, but that's what they reported, so okay. This year in 2024, the game I played the most was Helldivers at 221 hours. Following that was Chaos Gate Demon Hunters, which is a 40k game, which was actually great. 53 hours on that bad boy, worth it. Past that, I played a lot of the First Descendant. That is the Warframe-like kind of semi-small scale MMO where everybody looks like a crazy super butt sexy model, which I'm not mad at. So the First Descendant, I put in 50 hours on that. And following that, I put 44 hours into Capes, although I think that's a little bit low because I started a game and then I had to delete the whole thing, wait for a patch, and then I restarted. So 44 hours, probably just on the second attempt. I don't know if that's including the first attempt. My gameplay style is Adventurer. I'll take it. That seems to fit. I played 630 hours total on the PlayStation in 2025. And of that total, 183 hours were in multiplayer, and that was like 100% on Helldivers 2. So there you go. Those are my PlayStation stats. I thought those were kind of interesting. I would like to hear about yours. If you want to share, drop me a line. Let's see here. Let's check the agenda. Last thing on housekeeping is, first, I need to give an apology to good friend Dovetail from the Gaming in the Wild Discord. Dovetail sent me a question a while ago, and I wrote it down, and I was going to have it on the show. And in the interim, I believe we had those cyclones, and we had a number of windstorms here in Seattle. And in my very particular part of the world, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on, but we've got really bad electric poles or lines or cables or whatever. Anytime the wind blows more than like 5 miles an hour, we lose power. And I lost power a couple times in a row, like a couple days in a row. Most of the time it was pretty short, which is great. But in that period of blackouts, I lost a bunch of data on my computer. I did not have anything synced to the cloud at that time because fuck the cloud. And I ended up losing like the agenda to the show. I lost some stuff I was working on, some action figure information I was working on, some script stuff that I was working on. So I believe that the question that Dovetail sent in to me a while ago was one of those things that I lost. And I straight up forgot that I lost it. So I apologize, Dovetail. I got the question. I thought it's a good question, and I meant to answer it a long time ago. So I'm sorry I did not answer. I am like 99% sure I lost it in the blackouts. So since then, I have, it pains me to say this, but I have joined the cloud with friggin' Microsoft OneDrive, and it was the biggest shit show when I started to do it. I'm not going to get too far into it, but basically, it was like I decided I didn't want to lose any more data. I uploaded some documents, and then all of a sudden I had like 3 copies of each document, and they were all different, and they were all from like a week apart, and I had to like go through each one to figure out which one was the right one. It was, I mean, that isn't the whole point of the cloud, to avoid that shit. So that was a nightmare. It seems to have calmed down a little bit, but my data is now on the cloud. Hate saying that, but it is. So hopefully I won't lose any more questions. Again, Dovetail Man, super sorry that I lost your question, but I will answer it right now. Thank you for the reminder, by the way. I appreciate that. His question was basically something along the lines of, what are your favorite turn-based tactics games and which ones have the best story? Dovetail is a story guy. He's doing the Pages of Play podcast. I believe that's what it's called, Pages of Play. That sounds right to me. And he is all about the narrative, which is great, and I love it. But I feel a little bit ill-equipped to answer this because I am definitely Mr. Turn-based tactics. But to be perfectly frank, I don't really come to them for the story. I come to them for the mechanical play, for the strategizing, for the systems. And it sucks because Dovetail has asked me before, like, which games I think have the best narrative. And I really struggle to answer that because despite the fact that I can appreciate good writing in games and I love good characters, I just don't think of many games as having really great stories. Maybe I'm just forgetting something. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, maybe I'm just like in a different mindset these days. Still love games, still play them all the time. But like when I think of somebody asking what's a great game story, I really struggle to come up with something where I'm like, man, that was like just the jam, you know? Like, I think the only thing I could really come up with is perhaps like, I mean, Witcher 3, I think is a pinnacle of great writing. Just so many little bits in that. The Hearts of Stone, I think is really great. But a lot of it is kind of experiential and not necessarily good writing. So I don't know. I don't know about that, man. I feel bad because I don't have a good pat answer for you. I wish I could just bang, 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 give you top 3 turn-based tactics games that have wonderful stories. But I just don't think they do have wonderful stories. And I just don't hold that against them. I just think it's fine. So I don't know. We'll have to talk about it more. Dovetail, DM me. We'll chat about it. But I do have a list of turn-based tactics games here. I play almost, well, not almost all of them. I play many of them. I play lots of turn-based tactics games on console, not PC. And I will just say up front, I love systems that use individual characters and not generic units. So, you know, something that's got a name and a personality, has a very specific defined role, is not just like a Final Fantasy Tactics cipher. I do not care for Final Fantasy Tactics. I do not care for Ogre Battle. If you're clutching your pearls right now, I apologize, but like those games, I just do not care for them at all. That's not my flavor. So I went over my quick list to give you just some really good stuff. And if there's stuff in there that's about story, well, okay. So starting off, Lamplighters League. I'm sure you can see this one coming a mile away. I love the Lamplighters League. I think it's got great characters. I love the characters. They're all wonderful archetypes. I think there are great moments, but like as a story overall, not very inspiring. It's just like basically a Nazi/Cthulhu story with the heroes kind of, you know, trying to save the world. I mean, pretty predictable, but doesn't mean it wasn't effective, but I enjoyed it. But the characters I think were great. Voice acting was great. The moments were great, but like not a great story overall, but wonderful gameplay. Fucking amazing gameplay. XCOM 2, I think, is probably the gold standard that everybody is aspiring to be. I love that one. Mechanically, it's amazing. I think it's great, especially when you put all the DLC in and like the new stuff they added after launch is wonderful. But again, not a great story. It's just like aliens come to Earth and then you fight them off. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's enough to keep the thing moving forward, but it's just not like anything I would write home about. Darkest Dungeon. Played that for like a couple hundred hours. I love it. Super amazing mechanically. Darkest Dungeon #1, not #2. Art style is amazing. Just a great experience overall. Super hardcore. Loved it. But again, not a great story. It's like spooky stuff happening in town and you got to go solve it. I mean, pretty straightforward. There's nothing really to write home about there. Into the Breach, literally a perfect game. Like one of the most perfect turn-based tactics games ever created. I stand by that. You cannot prove me wrong. And again, straightforward, just like, hey, bugs are coming and they're eating humans and we got to stop the bugs. Okay, that's enough for me, but nothing to write home about. Not really at all. But boy, gameplay is fucking amazing in that. Otherwise, SteamWorld Heist, I think, is a great 2D turn-based tactics game that's got some really interesting spins to it. Very fun to play mechanically, but again, no great shakes story-wise. It's like, hey, we're robots. There's a bad robot. We got to stop the bad robot. That's it. So nothing to talk about there. And my last pick for the best turn-based tactics stuff is anything from Me, like Shadow Tactics or Desperados 3 or Shadow Gambit. Any of those things are just like masterclass fucking game experiences. But again, nothing to write home about. The characters are strong in all of these. I think the individual characters are great in all these games. I think they're all very appealing and they're all very memorable. The conversations they have between characters are great. But again, not really any good story. Like in Desperados 3, it's like, oh, you're a kid, your dad got killed. You want to get revenge on the guy. I mean, that's like every fucking Western movie, right? In, let's see what else. In Shadow Tactics, there's a bad guy ruining the kingdom. Save the kingdom. Straightforward. In Shadow Gambit, same kind of thing. Like religious zealots are taking over the pirate islands. And we got to push them back. I mean, there just isn't anything to talk about there. So I feel like I've really kind of, I don't know, skated on answering your question. I didn't really give you any turn-based tactics games that have great stories. But honestly, I was really struggling to come up with one. So if you want good tactics games, the ones I just gave you, those lists, that's the cream of the crop, man. That is the top shit out of all the shit. That's like the best of the best. You cannot do better than those games. Those are the best playing turn-based tactics games, in my opinion, that you can ever possibly play. That's like the best, capital B, capital T, reverse that. You know what I mean? But in terms of story, man, I feel like I'm letting you down because I got nothing for you. So I don't know. Hit me up. We could talk about it. We could chat, but that's just the way it rolls. And there are my picks for turn-based tactics, although sans story in most of those cases. And hopefully that will answer your question, at least in part. So, all right, folks, that's it for housekeeping. Before we crack into the main portion of the show, I do want to give you a heads up. There is a So Videogames Patreon. If you want to support the cost of running and hosting the show, even $1 helps. Our euro helps that much more, and there is a monthly cost associated. So if you want to chip in, that would be super appreciated. You can do that over at patreon.com/the So Videogames Podcast. Also, there is a So Videogames Discord where you can jump in and continue the conversation. Everybody is welcome to join free of charge. If you want to join in, shoot me an email or reach out somehow. I will give you the details, contact info for everything coming up at the end of the show. And I think that's it. All right, folks, let's get to it. As y'all know, I like to start the main portion of the show with circle backs, where I circle back to things I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details again right now, so this is just a kind of a quick update to let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time with it. All right, first circle back is miniatures. I talked about this last episode. Kind of an art house experiential game, playing it on the Switch. It's got 4, I don't know, I'm going to call them short stories, I guess. And you kind of, they're like visual novels a little bit. They're kind of interactive. You click on different things and the story kind of unfolds. They have different art styles between them. It's pretty cool if you want something kind of passive and sort of, I don't know, if you want to just like let something wash over you. I tried to get into it last week and it wasn't clicking, and I figured I'd put a pin in it, maybe play something else for a little while, come back to it. And I came back to it and it's just not happening for me. It's pretty passive. You don't really do a lot, and I kind of felt like my life was ticking away as I was playing it. It just kind of felt like I should be doing more, or more should be happening. So I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying it's not the right game for me right now. Maybe if I had been in a real contemplative mood, or maybe if I was looking for something that I just wanted to uber chill out with, it might have been a good thing. But it's just like, I don't know, just like this kind of like interactive art piece, which I think some people might really enjoy. But for me, it was just too passive and too slow, and it just was not connecting with me. So rather than try to just power through it, I decided to just call it quits. So not for me. I can appreciate what it's doing. I always appreciate a good art piece, or at least the attempt of it. But this just was, I don't know, we were just on different paths right now. This wasn't the game for me. So miniatures, I'm going to say nay to. Circling back to Keeper's Toll. This has been one of my surprise hits of the year. I finally rolled credits on it, I guess, or at least as close as you can come. I did finish it, or at least finish the last boss. No credits rolled, and there wasn't any like story. Maybe there was credits. Gosh, it was such like a non-event ending that was really disappointing that I was surprised. I honestly can't even remember if there even was a credit crawl. There probably was. I don't know. But bottom line, I did finish it, and I mean, I loved it. Like, don't get me wrong. I thought this game was fantastic. This is like my second favorite Survivors, like right behind Vampire Survivors, which is my current favorite and has been my favorite. I just love the different character classes. I love the progression with permanent upgrades. I love the way that each character plays very, very differently. And so it really depends on like who you're using as for your strategy. Some characters want to get right in the middle of it. Some want to keep enemies at a distance. Everybody felt like different, like not night and day different, but there were definitely differences in how I played them. And I had my favorites for sure. Ended up beating the game with the Archer, which I thought was never going to happen because when I started, it was like so hard to use. But I really enjoyed like all the nuance, like the very small variations. I mean, for example, the Archer, I think I mentioned this before. She has a kite button, well, like when you're kiting enemies around. And so you can point forward and walk forward and shoot forward. But when you get into a situation where you need to retreat, you hit a button and then she points backwards so you can run one direction and shoot in the other. And that just like made a whole difference. And she's the only character that can do that. I had some trouble with it at first. I was very confused. But once I figured out it was a class specific ability, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. And everybody's got their own little quirk. One guy's like a melee guy. One guy has like shadows. One guy's a pyromancer, etc., etc. So I love the character variation. I love like the small, minute differences in play. I loved the little micro strategies I had to adapt. I just had a blast with it. I thought the graphics were great. There are many, 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 many nods to FromSoft in this game. So it's not a Souls game. It's not a Souls-like at all. But you can tell the developers are fans because there's tons of references. You'll get them if you're a Souls fan. And I just thought it was great. It just played great, quick sessions. I think you can do a whole like one level run, not the whole game run, but a whole one level run in like 30 minutes or less, which is a great chunk of time to devote to something. It's just great. Really smart, really well done. Had a great time with it. I mean, at this point, like no real notes. I think the developers are still adding to it as it goes, although it's already in 1.0 and has been past 1.0 for a while. Oh man, what a great experience. And I gotta say also, very surprised. It runs perfectly on the Switch, which just blew me away because I thought there's no way a game that has so many things moving on screen can be played smoothly on the Switch. And I was wrong. It's perfect. Like it just works. So big kudos to Keeper's Toll. That one's going to be in my top 10 this year for sure. Definitely enjoyed that. All right. Second to last circle back for the show. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I talked about this last episode. It kind of snuck in under the wire. And I was basically raving about it last episode. I really loved the surprise kind of like element that it brought. We saw the trailers. I wasn't excited, but as soon as it hit, I kept hearing whispers that it was actually really quite good. So I got excited, jumped aboard, played it on Game Pass. The opening level is super nostalgia and it plays great. The second level just kind of immerses you in Indy's like life at the university that we've all seen in the movies. That was really good. Kind of goes from there. I got to the Vatican and I started playing and I was like, oh man, this is such a great experience. Immersive simulation, first person. I dig it. This is really good. Circling back to say, I take all that back. I do not like this game and I bailed on it and I will not be finishing it. So what happened? It starts off really, really good, but then it just grinds to a halt. I think the pacing is genius for the first like 2 or 3 levels in the game. It like feels appropriate to being an Indiana Jones movie. You get like some big moments. Things move pretty quickly. You have a couple seconds where you're kind of like got some downtime, have a little chat with Marcus back at the college, you're doing a puzzle, then you move on. And it's just like, it really vibes with what you think of the films, right? But then I get to the Vatican, which is the main hub, or at least the first main hub that I'm aware of. And like the opening part is fine. The Vatican Steps part is like totally cool. I was like still down, like it's like a little dark hallway kind of area you're in. You're taking down guards, looking for keys and stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is good. I dig this. This is fun. And then you get to the Vatican proper and the whole world just like opens up like really big, tons of like places to go. And all of a sudden you have like all these side quests that you're doing like in the Vatican, and there's tons of like fascists walking around. And so you got to watch out for guards and everything. And it just, I was with it at first, but like it really lost me in a hurry. I just lost all desire to play this game. The pace just grinds down to like a total halt, which is the opposite of what like a George Lucas film is. I mean, he's known for his quick style, his fast pace. I mean, he like, that's his signature style. He like revolutionized movies based on the work he did. And to have a game that just like totally goes in the opposite direction of that is really strange to me. So I'm in the Vatican and I just got really frustrated with it. I felt like the quests were not set up properly. I didn't feel like there was enough narrative. We kind of lost some narrative there, narrative juice. and I'm just wandering around looking for stuff. And I was using the map a lot. I think the map is pretty good, I guess, but like I didn't feel like as though I was doing something with purpose as Indy. I felt like I just found this thing. I'm supposed to go do this thing because it's the thing you do, and I didn't really feel like I was on like an adventure anymore. I kind of lost some agency. And part of it is just like I don't think the immersive simulation parts are very good. Like when you're doing an MSim, like a Dishonored or a Deus Ex or something, you very often have many different ways to do that. You can have a stealth character, you have a combat character, you can have a hacking character, like et cetera, et cetera. But you're just indie in this, which is fine. But I think that's why he's more suited to like a straightforward action game or a game that has, light puzzle elements, kind of keeps you moving forward all the time. When you get to something like this, it kind of felt just like a bad fit. For example, okay, so like the two biggest things that really turned me off, well, maybe three. Like I found this quest, which I just kind of picked up a note somewhere, and all of a sudden it's like, you've got a side quest. I'm like, I do? Like, this doesn't feel like a good quest. It feels like just like I randomly found this thing, and I'm supposed to rescue this guy from a prison cell, and I wasn't quite sure who he was, and it just didn't happen I don't think the quest was set up very well. I kind of like was doing it out of gamer obligation, not because I felt like excited to follow this trail of breadcrumbs, right? So I got to rescue this guy out of a jail cell. And I'm just like struggling with the navigation in the Vatican. I felt like it's very confusing. It's really loud, large, and there's a lot of like false barriers, right? Like a lot of doors that are locked, a lot of one-way doors. This door opens from the other side. A lot of doors that are just absolutely sealed and you just can't ever open them. And so it already starts feeling a little fake, right? Like once you are in a place like this where you can really poke around at the corners and the edges, you start to see exactly what the limitations are. And in an immersive simulation, you don't want to have that. Like you want to have the player stay in the moment. You want it to stay very believable about why you're being blocked and why you can't move forward. It's got to make sense, right? And so I tried to figure out how to get to this guy. I couldn't figure it out. And so I saw that it was behind a fence, and I go look around. I kind of go around the perimeter, and I find a wagon or a truck or something like that. And I'm like, okay, this fence isn't that tall. If I get on top of this car, I can just jump off and make it over the fence, and I'll sneak in the back way. But I couldn't. There was an invisible wall. So I get on top of the truck. I go to run and jump, and I hit the invisible wall, and I fall down, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is an immersive simulation. You should be able to do whatever you want within, like, the limits of the game, but invisible walls are not traditionally a limit to games like this. And so I'm like, okay, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I didn't jump high enough. And I went back, tried it again, and nope, sure enough, I couldn't jump over the fence. So the solution I came with for myself didn't work, and that, like, really took a lot of the wind out of my sails. Because, as you know, doing an immersive simulation, you are supposed to be rewarded when you come up with clever thinking. You find a shortcut. You find a physics thing that maybe might not work, but does work. Maybe you find a secret way you didn't think was going to be there, but it was there. Jumping over a fence, easy, low-hanging fruit. Anybody should have been able to jump over this fence. The developers absolutely should have figured that out. So that kind of sucked. And I was like, okay, this is boring. I tried to figure it out, and I got to the front of this part. Bunch of fascists on guard patrol. They're posted out front. And it seems like the only way to go in. So I look around, and there's like a scaffolding. It's like 6 feet above their heads. Like if you were a person standing right there, you would, like, no question, you'd be able to see what was going on in the scaffolding. Like it would be so obvious that you couldn't miss it, right? And so I'm like, well, that can't be the way in because they're going to spot me, no problem. And I just keep circling and circling and circling and circling. I couldn't find the way in, full disclosure, after I did all this part, I did find there was little, I don't know, like a little path behind a hedge or something I guess they thought you would find. I didn't find it. I just didn't see it. So I'm like, well, this scaffolding thing can't possibly be the way to go. I'm going to give it a try just because I'm getting frustrated. And it worked. I got up on the scaffolding with my whip, pulled myself up. It's literally like 1 foot above the head of the guards. Right. There's like 5 guys like right there. I'm like, there's no way they're not going to see me. They totally didn't see me. I walk over this thing, jump behind them, land heavily. I don't even have a stealth landing or anything. And they don't react to it. And I'm like, okay, this was stupid. I can't believe that worked. That feels insulting that it worked, and I am not impressed that worked at all. Get inside the place where the guy is held prisoner, and like there's all these doors where it's like, this door is sealed. And I'm like, why? Why would this door be sealed inside this guard post where the guy is being held? It should just be a door. I mean, at least for God's sake, say it's locked or something. And then there was like a one-way door, and I had to like do this like ass backwards way of like going out and around and get to where the cell was, when all I should have really done is just walk straight through and go through the door and get there. I mean, it just started hitting me in the face with how fake and artificial it was. And I just decided that I didn't want to participate in that artificiality. It just wasn't keeping me in, right? So I was almost going to quit right there, and decided to just push forward a little bit more. I met some lady who wanted some medicine, and so she's like, "Oh yeah, find me like 12 medicines or something or whatever it was." And I'm like, "Oh no, don't want to do that." And then the next quest for the main quest line was look for these etchings and take a picture of them, and they're scattered all throughout the Vatican. And so I had to like find my way through the Vatican, and I was like, "No, none of this stuff is like Indiana Jones shit." Like, like the first puzzle in the game where you're in the museum and you're matching up the artifacts to the museum case. Great, super easy. It's basically one room. You get through it in 5 minutes, fine. Or if you want to do a puzzle, do something like in the movies, right? Like in The Lost Crusade, which is my favorite of the films. When he's inside the library, he goes up on top of the ledge and he sees the three X's in the library, and he's like, "I got it. There it is. There's the door. Boom. Move on." Right? Like this whole like search this whole level for stuff and take these pictures and blah blah blah, boring, so boring. So I'm like, forget it. I'm out. I don't want to play this. Really disappointing because I thought it started so well. The first 2-3 levels, great stuff, like great pace. I was in, and even though I'm not traditionally a first person guy, like I was like, okay, I can look past that. This is pretty good. And then no, I don't want to play an immersive simulation where you're so limited and so boxed in and you've got to just walk around and punch fascists all the time. Nah, I mean, I'm down for punching fascists for sure, but not like this, not in this game. So I bounced. I'm not going to come back. It was so boring. I just feel like it's not for me. I don't have the patience to get through it. So bye, Indiana. All right, last circle back is kind of a way circle back, going back to Hades from way back in the day. Just Hades #1, not Hades #2, the original. I got kind of frustrated after playing Indiana Jones, and I needed to play something a little bit more actiony. So I'm like, oh, I never finished Hades, and I didn't really like it that much when I started, but it kind of grew on me over time. And I'm like, I kind of think fondly of it these days. So I'm like, I should finish that. I'm going to go back and just get some time in with Hades, especially because I know it plays really well on the Switch, so I could, play it while I'm in bed or whatever. Went back to it, and it took me a minute because I forgot like all the systems. I mean, I knew the basics, but like I forgot about the mirror powers and giving the gifts to people and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, this. And for those of you who haven't played it, I mean, I feel like probably everybody's played Hades at this point, especially if you're listening to the show. Isometric roguelike, like it's got a really strong story element that plays into the repetitive nature of roguelikes. You're playing a Greek god. His name is Zagreus. Zagreus? Is that right? They call him Z or Zag all the time. I think it's Zagreus. And you have like 6 different weapons to pick from. You go on these runs, lots of modifiers. Really good, solid roguelike action and real time. So I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. Come back to it, and I'm like, yeah, this is genuinely still pretty good. I definitely have warmed up to it over the years. I can appreciate the systems it's going for, but I gotta say, I'm terrible at it. I don't know if I just haven't unlocked enough stuff or what, but it kind of took me like more than a hot minute to figure out what to do. I was a little slow on the uptake when it came to the mirror. I didn't realize there was more options there than I saw. And so there's like 2 sides to the mirror, and there's power-ups on one side and different power-ups on the other side, which I did not realize. I think also it took me a little while to figure out that the enemies in that game have quote-unquote armor, which means that they never get staggered. And so I was not playing correctly. I needed to like really focus on stripping armor first before trying to stagger, and that took me like way longer than I want to admit to figure that out. And just kind of just getting a vibe for all the different weapons and seeing which combinations worked and which ones didn't. So I'm still chipping away. Not really a lot to report right now. Progress is real slow. I'm not making very many good. I mean, I'm nowhere near finishing this game. And I got to the 3rd chunk of levels. I forget what it's called, but I'm just like, God damn it. These enemies are really hard here. Like, what the fuck? And I kind of don't have a good strategy for them yet. So I guess I need to learn some more, just kind of play with it some more. But doing 1 or 2 runs a day, and it does hold up, man. It's still really good. It's one of those games that I think will ultimately stand the test of time. Like if you talk to a friend of yours 10 years from now and be like, hey, what you playing? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm playing Hades. You'd be like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Like you would get it, right? Like it would make sense to you that somebody would go back and play that. So I think it's an all-timer. I'm not good at it. I'm nowhere near the end. I have a lot of learning to do, but I recognize it for what it is, and I respect it a lot, and I think it is genuinely going to be an all-timer, at least in the roguelike genre for sure. So, yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I'm kind of taking a beating. I'm kind of, my head's hanging down a little low right now because I'm not making a lot of progress. But I'm still in it, still chipping away, and if I make a little bit of progress every day, I'll eventually get there. So we'll see. Fingers crossed on that one. All right, folks, that is it for Circlebacks, and this has been kind of a weird week. So I've only got 2 brand new games to talk about, which I'll get to right now. All right, first up is Mythwrecked, Mythwrecked, Mythwrecked. This one is kind of an indie jam. I've known about it for a while. It's a story about a girl who gets stranded on an island, a weird island, and on this island are several Greek gods. They've been kind of like updated and modernized for our times. And she arrives there. She doesn't know quite what's going on, but she quickly meets a statue, the Oracle. Oracle tells her, hey, this is an island for strange things happening. You're here probably for a reason, and the best thing you can do is to meet the people on this island and help them out with their problems, and that's what we do. So I'm on board. I like Greek god stuff. Kind of an interesting idea of seeing these gods that have been kind of moved forward in time. They wear clothes and they have they know about technology and stuff like that. You kind of see it from not really an overhead view, but kind of just a third-person view as you run around the island. Graphics are it's like, I feel weird about the graphics. I think the character design is a little bit odd. They're very unusual looking. I think the main character almost looks like she's like really exhausted or something. There's just the way her face looks. And the other gods are very distinctive looking. They've all got these kind of weird googly eyes a little bit. You meet, Hermes right away, the messenger. And this is not really spoiler. This happens like in the first 10 minutes of the game, and I need to just illustrate the point here. But he's like a big, bald, kind of naked guy with a big beer belly, and he's got like Speedos on, and it's a workout towel. Kind of threw me for a loop seeing that. Later on, you meet Zeus and, Hera? Hera, that's right. Zeus and Hera. And they seem like an Art Nouveau kind of like party couple with these like a lot of gold and everything. And they just look like, rich people you might expect to see party on the Riviera or something like that. I don't know. So an interesting concept, but I think this game has a lot of problems. I think it's described as like a cozy game, and I think that makes sense. There's no combat in this game. There's no danger. There's no fail state. But what you do basically is so you get to the island, you go to meet Hermes. You meet him almost immediately, and he says, oh, I've got amnesia, and I need help, and I need you to find you need to feed some seagulls for him. So he gives you seagull food. You find the seagulls, and then he wants you to trade stuff with him. And in order to do that, you need to go pick up a bunch of fruit that's on the island. It's all over the place. There's a million pieces of fruit. So I pick up the fruit, come back and trade with him. And I mean, it's fine. But then after I do that part with him, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's see what happens next. You go to the next part of the island. And the whole island is kind of laid out like a labyrinth. When you're on the beach at first and you find Hermes right away, there's really only one or two places to go. It's almost impossible to get lost there. But then when you get to the other parts of the island, it's not like it's huge or very overcomplicated, but it's complicated by the fact that there are steps and your character cannot jump. They cannot step up. Anything more than 1 inch in game space is impassable. And so there's these little, fences or ramps or something that you just can't go on because the game is limiting you to stay on the path. So there's no natural traversal. There's no mantling. There's no, not in that way anyway, not to get over barriers or something like that. So you find yourself stuck. I was often kind of semi-frustrated because I'm that thing is right there. I can see it right there. I want to just go there. If it was me in real life, I could actually climb over this barrier. I could lift my foot up 2 feet and go to this thing, and so you get a little artificial barrier stuff going on, which is kind of a bummer. But you finally figure out how to make progress. You get to where you're going. You meet the next set of gods, and it's they do the exact same thing. It's hey, we want you to do this favor for us. Go do this X thing, do 5 of X thing. In the next case, it's light 5 lights or something like that, and then bring us some fruit. Just the same thing over and over. And then I got past that. I'm okay, well, that was kind of a bummer. I was hoping they would do something different. I get to the third god, which was Aphrodite, I believe. And it's again, it's oh, do this favor. Go find these frescoes that I put together, and they're all dirty now. Please dust off 5 frescoes and come back and then trade me some fruit. I'm okay, I'm good. I see what's going on here. I was hoping each one would do something different, but they don't. It's all pretty similar and honestly pretty boring. You're just running around the island back and forth. Very, 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 very limited fast travel system. In fact, I hesitate to even say there's fast travel. There's a couple portals throughout the island that'll give you a shortcut, but it's not you can just go anywhere you want. And it's not the place is huge, but you end up running back and forth a lot. And you're not doing anything exciting other than finding 5 of this, finding 5 of that, finding 5 of this other thing over here. And it's just not exciting. It feels like you're playing like this really long like checklist of things, like a shopping list, right? Where you're just doing this stuff. And I was hoping that once you would advance things a little bit, like it would happen, something would happen, right? So for example, you feed the gulls with Hermes. He's like, oh, my friends are the seagulls. They're starving. Please give them each an olive or something like that. And you go do it. And then like nothing happens. Like the birds don't become your friend. They don't tell you any information. They don't do anything. You just fed him and that was it. And he knew, and then he liked you and then you became friends and that was it. Same thing for the next one, Zeus and Hera. They're like, oh, we like to party and there's party lights and they're all dark and please light up the lights. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I light up some lights and then nothing. We don't have a party. Like nothing changes. The landscape doesn't change. Like I don't get a magical power from it. You just light the lights and then you just move on. And I'm like, okay, like what? It just feels like you're going on like all these fetch quests for people, but you're not really getting a good reward out of it. You're just kind of like advancing the story a little bit. And to be honest, like I wasn't really that captivated in the story. I needed like a little bit more of a something to get me in. So I think it's like a cool idea and it's definitely cozy, like low stakes, low pressure, take as much time as you want. Like another thing, for example, that like failed to get me in was you have a home base on the lighthouse on this island, but you don't really need it. I mean, you can just, there's a million benches all over the place you can sit on to save your game. So you don't really need a place to sleep or anything. And when you get there, you can unlock decorative items like a rug, lamp, pillows, whatever, but you don't get to put them anywhere you want to. It's just like once you find them, they just go in your house in this one specific spot and it doesn't do anything for you. You don't get a power from it. It doesn't help you in any way. There's no benefit to it. There's no mechanical effect. Like having a more comfortable house doesn't increase your life bar because you're sleeping better. It doesn't make you in a better mood so people like you. Like nothing. You just put it in there. It all feels very surfacey, and I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunity here for places where the player could get some ownership of what's going on, where you feel like you're having an effect on the island, where it feels like you're changing something. It just feels like you're just running around doing these chores, and the only reward for the chore is that people talk to you a little bit more, and then that's kind of it. So I met the first 3 people that you're supposed to do tasks for. It was all carbon copy, and I just really lost interest like almost immediately. So I think there's something here. Like I feel like this is a good idea, like interacting with the gods, modernizing them, trying to be their friend, figuring out what their problems are. And if you know Greek mythology, all the Greek gods got problems. They're very horribly flawed, temperamental, jealous. I mean, they're not perfect gods in any way. So there's lots of material here. I just feel like this ain't it. I bounced pretty quickly, and I don't know. If you want something that's very soothing and is not challenging, and all you got to do is kind of just tick off these boxes on a list. And I mean, this game gets that done, but it just feels like a shame. It just feels like there's so much more that could have been done with this. And there just isn't anything more. So I decided to bail. Somebody told me it was like 10 to 12 hours. And I'm like, no way am I sinking that much time into this. So Mythwrecked, kind of cool in concept, but man, it really left me pretty cold. Sorry about that. All right, last game of the show here is called the Thaumaturge, Thaumaturge. This is an Eastern European game. It is an RPG played from an isometric perspective with a locked camera. So you are not able to rotate the camera. You're just kind of walking around in the world, and you play a Thaumaturge, which I've heard the word before, but I don't know that I knew the exact definition of it, which I do now. Basically, you're kind of like a miracle worker of sorts, but it's not like you're performing grand miracles. It's like you find things out about people, you know secrets about people, you understand people very well. You're able to maybe do some pre or post cognition, like minor stuff like that. But the other thing that you can do as a thaumaturge is to have demons that are bound to you. It seems like from the game's fiction, most people only have one demon bound to them. But this person is trying for more than that, and it's kind of a big deal. It takes place in Poland and Russia, like those parts around there, and it's like kind of back in day, kind of old timey time. I hate to reduce something down to just a catchphrase or something, but it really feels a little bit like The Witcher, but in like a more modern sense. Like there's trains, there's houses, there's cities. World War is about to start. And so it's kind of like sort of the real world vaguely, but also there's a lot of Witcher stuff going on. You're going to villages. People are living in rural areas. So they got low tech and kind of like subsistence living. A lot of mythology going on. I'm not super familiar with Eastern European myths and legends, but I have heard of thaumaturges before, and I am familiar with some of this stuff just from playing Eastern European games. A lot of the similar monsters you'll find in The Witcher or like Black Book. So I'm seeing some of that here as well, which is pretty interesting. I think it's all pretty fascinating. You play this guy who is a thaumaturge, and he is having some problems at the beginning. You run into Rasputin, the Rasputin, pretty quickly, and he turns out to be a solid bro. I wasn't sure if he was going to be the bad guy, because he's usually like the big bad of games, right? But he turns out to be a solid bro. He helps you out with his mystical powers. He's got different powers. And so the two of you, and I'm not too far, just FYI, partner up, and he goes back to Poland, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. There's some family mystery going on. There's all sorts of stuff. The beginning of the game, though, is pretty good. It sets you up by being out in the wild. You're in this very, very small village, and shit's going down in the village. People are getting angry. People are getting short-tempered. Good neighbors are all of a sudden not getting along, and things are going wrong. And so when the Thaumaturge arrives, he's like, okay, I get it. This village is being tormented by a demon. So someone here has like a personality flaw, or has had some kind of like really bad trauma that has lured the demon in. The demons seek out these kind of flaws in human beings. And so when something bad happens and somebody is scarred by that, it will very often lure a demon in. And when that demon is here, he's causing problems for everybody in the village. So that's exactly what happens. You go there and you walk around and use his thaumaturge powers, kind of like detective vision a little bit, to kind of find items in the area. You can track people. You can get feelings from things. Like you'll pick up an axe and you'll be like, oh, this person was very angry about something that day, and they were very short-tempered. Or you'll pick up like a bottle of beer, and you'll be like, oh, this person was pretty chill, and they were here with their friends, and you can kind of get vibes off things. And so you go to the village. You not going to spoil anything, but you figure out what the mystery is, and it has to do with somebody who had a dark secret. Once you figure out what the secret is, you confront them, and you have like a big battle. There is combat in this game. And it's turn-based. I don't know quite how I feel about it. I'm not the biggest fan of turn-based RPG-style combat, but it's not bad, I don't think, at all. You go into a battle, and then you'll go up against, like, thugs in the street or angry person or something. Like, you're fighting other humans most of the time, and there's, like, a little time bar. You can see how long you've got to attack. You can see how long enemies have to attack. And so you can plan. You've got, like, a quick attack, a medium attack, a long attack, and you can also use your demon's powers. The demon's with you. And so you can assign them to do things like confuse your enemy or attack them from the back or something like that. So you basically got like a two-person party, you plus one demon at all times. You can swap out demons when you get more. And then you fight these thugs. And you're kind of just like punching in the street. And so it's kind of this weird feel. But I think it's pretty cool, actually. Just kind of being in the street. And then if you were aided by an invisible demon, like what would that look like? And it kind of looks like this. So that's pretty fun. I really like the graphics a lot. I think the style, it's a little bit rough at parts, but I think the vibe, the era, the tone, what they're going for, like this kind of old school, like before war-torn countries became war-torn. You know, people have money, and there's these nice houses, and people are kind of posh, and then you go to the poor areas and villages, and they're all living in woodlog huts, and you know, they got goats around and stuff like that. Like, I think they do a really great job of illustrating like the countryside, the people, the culture. They're spending a lot of time in Poland right now. I think we're in Warsaw, actually, and I've never been there, so I can't say. But I mean, it looks like what I would imagine Warsaw to look like, I guess. It's the vibe and the tone and the time periods are all really working for you very well. I like it a lot. I like the thaumaturge powers. You basically just end up walking around from location to location, finding clues using your thaumaturge powers. And once you put enough clues together, you do face off with people. And you'll have other random battles too, but they're not random battles. It'll be like, for example, you walk into a part of town where you're not supposed to be, some thugs will jump you, and that's the battle. Or you'll go confront a woodchopper, and he's really mad about something, and you push him too far, and then he fights you. So it's not just like you're just finding random RPG battles, which I'm really grateful for. They all make sense. They all have context in the story, which in itself is kind of worth celebrating, honestly. But pretty good so far. Not too far into it. I'm only maybe 1.5 levels into it. Lots of dialogue, which I like a lot. I think the dialogue is good and snappy. It makes sense. You have lots of choices, and a lot of the choices are based on your particular demon. So the demons that you have each have kind of an attribute to them, and depending on how high up you level them, it'll open more options for you. So like maybe you've got like your vanity demon, which is I think the one you start with, because you're a very proud person, pride maybe. And so the more you say prideful things, the stronger that demon gets. But saying prideful things kind of pisses people off. And so you gotta kind of balance. Do I want to level this demon up and get stronger and see what that unlocks? Or do I want to be more polite and see what happens there? And if you have a very strong pride stat, when someone comes up to you, you can like really be bold with them. You can front with them, and you can like push them around a little bit because you're feeling good about yourself. If you have not leveled the pride up, you're not able to take those choices. And so you've got to go with a more meek response, or maybe you need to be more cooperative when you might not want to be. So I think the systems are real interesting. I like the way that each demon has its own emotional aspect, and then how you use those kind of builds them up a little bit. There's also experience points, and it doesn't like completely forego all of the regular RPG systems, but I think there's enough here to make it feel very different. It feels a lot like a turn-based combat Witcher in modern times, or not modern times, but you know, like not now modern times, 2024, more like 1900 is kind of what I'm thinking. And it just has a really good mix of elements, like a little bit of like magical realism, a little bit of urban fantasy, Eastern European cynicism, a pantheon of gods and monsters that we're not really familiar with in the West. It all feels very exotic and cool. I think the Thaumaturge is pretty interesting. It's definitely something that you should play when you want to read a lot, or like when you want to take in some story. It's not a bunch of reading, but you are going to be talking to people. Chat and questions and discussion is like a large part of the main game. The combat's there for sure, but I feel like it's more about talking to people and getting the vibe from things, which is totally all right with me. I think it works very well. I'm going to keep playing this one. I'm very interested, just because I like The Witcher. This seems like in that same basket, and I do like Eastern European stuff, and I think this is exploring some territory we have not really dug into very deeply before here in the West. So definitely a thumbs up so far. I will probably report back on this one to see how it goes. And the official game portion of the show is now done. Just a quick recap. What did I talk about? I talked about miniatures, Keeper's Toll, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Mythwrecked, Hades, and the Thaumaturge. All right. Before we wrap the show, like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. Just a couple this week. First up, watched Skeleton Crew Episode 3, the new Star Wars show on Disney+. It's about a group of kids who accidentally stumble into a starship and take off, and now they're lost in space. I love the show, dude. It's fucking good. It's really good. I think the performances are fucking great, and it's really hard to get a good performance out of a kid. I think all the kids are great. I love the ship. They meet up with somebody. I'm not going to spoil anything, but they go on some adventures. They meet some aliens. They're doing like real 80s, like Goonies kid shit, and it's really fucking cool. There's also a mystery, because it's very difficult to get back to the home planet where they're from, and people can't figure out why it's so hard to get back there. That's pretty cool. Everything about the show is real cool. I dig it. Skeleton Crew. The only thing that's not cool about Skeleton Crew is it's dropping every fucking week. Fuck that. I want to binge the shit. I would have watched this entire thing in one day if the episodes were up, dude, because I really was like very, very into it. I think it's really great. So big thumbs up to Skeleton Crew for sure. Beyond that, watched the movie Troll, which is on Netflix. I think this is sponsored or paid for by Netflix, produced by Netflix, made in, I don't know, the Scandinavian country somewhere. Not sure exactly. It's a movie about a woman who's like a paleontologist, but she grew up learning about myths and legends in her area, and the trolls are like a big part of that. And so these people are digging in a mine, and they're, I don't know, blasting the countryside or something, and they end up freeing like one of these classical like Scandinavian trolls, and it's huge. It comes out, starts wrecking shit. It's a really good movie, honestly. It's not really a horror. It was in the horror section, but it's not that scary. It's more like a misunderstood kaiju movie, because the troll is as big as Godzilla, and he walks around doing troll shit, and people think it's horrible, but also there's like more to it than that. There's a little bit of backstory. There's some mythology that comes up. Thought the performances were real good. I thought the troll looks really cool. I thought it's a great family film for, like, you know, me and my son really dug it a lot. It's not for like gather the little ones around or anything, but if you got like an older kid, I think it touches on some themes that are worth discussing, and it was just really good. It was really good. A little bit sad at times. Some of the action's kind of fun. Definitely different than our normal sci-fi monster movie, because it kind of had a heart to it, and it was just really good overall. Really like Troll quite a bit. That was good stuff. Last thing I'm going to talk about is a movie called Carry On, and I believe this was also on Netflix, starring Jason Bateman, if you remember him from back in the day, real big in the 80s and 90s actor. Also was on a lot of other stuff. He's on whatever that show was I never watched and people talk about all the time. Can't remember what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this movie is about it's like a suspense heist crime movie where there's this guy who's working as a TSA agent at an airport, and he gets contacted by this guy who's a terrorist, and this is Jason Bateman. And this is like in the trailer. I'm not spoiling anything. He needs a certain bag to get through security, and so he's trying to manipulate this guy to get him to put it through. And there's all sorts of extenuating circumstances. There's all sorts of like, I'm spying on you and I've got all this information on you and I need you to do this. And there's all this tension at the airport because it's like a holiday weekend and everybody's trying to get where they're going. And this one specific bag is trying to get through and the guy like doesn't want to cooperate, but he has to cooperate. It's a really cool, like nice action movie. There's also some twists and turns, some pretty good stuff. I thought it was great. I mean, a good afternoon popcorn movie. Watched it with the wife, enjoyed it quite a bit. Jason Bateman did a great job. He was really great as the kind of cold, calculating Hans Gruber style like bad guy. If you've seen Die Hard with Alan Rickman, you kind of know what basket he's in. Not quite that same like Alan Rickman-ness because no one is Alan Rickman, but he does a great job. I think he's got a cool voice. Hearing him be the bad guy rather than the good guy was really fun, and I thought he did a great job. So Carry On, I think, was great. Very good film. Definitely recommend that if you want something on the lighter side, but a little action, a little suspense. Yeah, good stuff. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, we'd love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, and most important of all, please recommend the show to your friends because nothing beats good old word of mouth. Also, if you want to support the show and help with the cost of running this podcast, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. If you want to join the Discord, that is free of charge. And also, I would love to get your questions and comments. Hit me up in the Discord that I just mentioned, or email me directly, sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com, or reach me on social media. You can find me mostly on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. And that's going to do it for episode 419. Thank you so much again for joining me here on the So Video Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.